Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sasha. Today I have a book review for you that this is how I felt reading the book. This is going to be a heavily spoiler-filled review. So if you have not read this book, you might want to stop watching right now. Editing Sasha here. Before we begin the rest of the video, we're going to take a quick pause to hear a word from our sponsor. Hey there friends, it's me, Sasha, and today's sponsor is my Etsy shop, Dreaming of Stars Co. Have you ever wished you could match the vibe of your favorite book to a bookmark? Have you ever started reading a book but wanted to take a break and realized there was nothing close by except the last receipt from your library to use to hold your place? Hey, we're here to listen. We don't judge. Whether it's dark romance, queer, indie, fantasy, sci-fi, nonfiction, we've got bookmark designs just for you. And when I say we, it's really just me, but the we makes it sound, official or something. All my bookmarks are made right here in this very room by me, myself, Sasha Marie. You can use code WELCOME10 on your first order for a discount. Thank you so much for watching. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. We are going to be talking about Pen Pal by J.T. Gessinger. This is a book I have seen so many places. It does have really pretty sprayed edges and a very nice cover. I read the back of this book and honestly, it's iconic that when I was reading the back of this book in a book haul, I have it on camera. I said something so profound. I'm going to insert the clip here. Now with a brand new bonus chapter, there's a little thing on the back. Okay, so the first letter arrived the day my husband was buried. It was postmarked from the state penitentiary and it contained a single sentence. I'll wait forever if I have to. It was signed by Dante, a man I didn't know. Out of simple curiosity, I wrote back to ask him what exactly he was waiting for. His reply, you. I told the mystery man he had the wrong woman. He said he didn't. I said we'd never met, but he said I was wrong. We went back and forth exchanging letters every week that grew increasingly more intimate. Then one day the letters stopped. When I found out why, it was already too late. Dante was at my doorstep. I thought he died. And nothing on earth could have prepared me for what happened next. How exciting! Okay, for those of you who've already read the book, can you believe that just from reading the back, I sort of instinctively knew what was going to happen, but then as I'm reading the book, let me tell you how I went into this thinking what this would be. The only thing I thought this would be was a dark romance between a woman and an inmate in prison who eventually gets released from prison and comes to visit to her, and now I'm stuttering because it was just that's what I thought it was. I thought it was just going to be a dark romance, a reflective story of these two people who come from two different worlds and how they mesh together. And I just thought this was gonna be a inmate romance. That's what I thought this was gonna be. A second chance at life. He gets released and he meets this woman and how do they know each other? Is it something they went to high school together? I was just so invested in that aspect of the story. That's not at all what this book is, and it's so wild. Okay, this book's spooky. This book's scary. This book is a little bit of a thriller, and I had no idea going into it that that's what I was getting myself into. I don't read thrillers. I read dark romance, contemporary romance, historical romance, fantasy, I'm on that side. And I did say to myself, 2025, I want to dip my toe into horror, and I want to dip my toe, not necessarily thrillers so much, but the horror genre, because there are some books that intrigue me in that genre, and apparently this, no one would consider this horror, but I was spooked, I'll be totally honest. So, okay, so her husband in the beginning of the novel dies, and we don't see his death. She doesn't talk about his death at all. But it starts at his funeral, and then she comes home, and once I knew what was happening, there were so many very big indicators that that's what was happening, but I was genuinely this is the one time where my autistic pattern recognition was turned off, because I kept thinking okay, is this actually a, like, fantasy story, a magical realism story? Like, is this not just a dark romance? Is this, like, something magical with the way that all these things were happening inside her house and she was hearing things? And I was like, okay, maybe her husband isn't actually dead, and maybe he's still, like, coming into her house and fucking with her. And then I was like, well, I don't know, because she says these things, and these things make me think he really is dead. And so I just kept going back and forth, like, and then I was trying to figure out who Dante was, the guy who's writing her the letters from prison, and how these letters are magically making their way into their house. So then I was like, oh my god, maybe Dante is actually, like, a demon or the devil, and that's the direction we're going, and she's being haunted by a demon who's like, is the reason her husband died. And I was like, okay, this is going, like, Supernatural, the TV show with Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki. Like, that's the direction we're going. Like, okay, I'm on board. And then we got to a point where I got so spooked, like, out of my marbles. Well, okay, before we get there, though. So, we have the dead husband. We have the pen pal from prison, whose name is Dante, who I think is a demon. And then in walks this handyman, roofer guy, who's gonna fix her roof because she's in an old house and it's leaking. And so I'm like, okay, he's clearly the love interest because it's the same tattoos described as this man on the cover of the book. So I was like, we've found the love interest, and for some reason it's not the pen pal, which is very weird to me. So I was like, okay, so clearly the pen pal, who's a demon, is going to hate this new guy, and he's gonna try and get rid of him somehow. But so I was like, okay, do I need to root for this roofer guy who's, like, kinky and into BDSM and into dom sub, master pet, and, like, he calls her little rabbit, little bunny? And I was like, who am I rooting for? Who do we want her to fall in love with? Because the letters from the pen pal guy they were, like, romantic, but not romantic enough for me to be like, yeah, she should obviously go for this guy, because he's just, like, giving her, like, general vibes of in love, but she has no reason to be in love with him back. Like, she knows nothing about him. So there wasn't, like, it was a one-sided connection through the pen pal thing, but she just needed that, she needed that other person to connect with and to hold on to. So I was like, I'll give you that, like, that valid. So we have dead husband, we have demon Dante pen pal guy, we have roofer guy who's kinky. And I was just like, I genuinely don't know what's going on. And I was so terrified that, like, this demon guy is going to end up killing Dante. And she's going to be left with, like, now her husband and the love of her life, the new love of her life. They're both going to be dead. And she's just going to be stuck with this demon dude. And are you telling me that I need to also be in love with this demon dude? Because if she, like, that's her only option left. So I'll be real honest with you, before we ever got to the point in this book where they start talking about ghosts, where the cleaning lady comes in and starts telling her about the ghosts because she sees the little boy and she sees the men in the trench coat, I skipped the last chapter because I was so scared. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I need to know who makes it to the end. I need to know what's going on. And then I was like, oh my fucking god, they're both dead. And it was very Nicole Kidman and her children in that one movie where all of them are dead, and she thinks the people who are alive are haunting her house, but really she's the one who's dead. It was literally that plot for this romance book. So then the whole time I'm reading it, I'm so fucking sad. Because I was like, oh no. Like, and then she goes to see the tarot reader, and that was so sad. I'm literally, like, tearing up. So if you think this has a happily ever after, I disagree. Because I was so sad. She, like, finally finds the love of her life. I didn't think I was gonna cry in this review. And then I told you this was gonna be all spoilers, because there's no way I can talk about this without spoilers. The thing that, like, genuinely, truly broke me was seeing their death. I understand that we needed it. We needed to see it. We needed to see essentially how this story started, and it started at her death. But those scenes were so hard. I have a very complicated relationship with death, and especially when it's domestic abuse. Like, major trigger warnings for this book. Oh my god. And I like, when she first meets Aiden at the bar, and he asks her straight up, is he hurting you? I knew the answer was yes. And she just couldn't remember, I thought, because she was so traumatized that he had just died. And I thought, well, maybe he attacked her and she killed him, and her brain is not letting her remember that. Okay, I need to, like, get it together. I can't just cry this whole review. Oh my god. I guess the closest we get to it being a happily ending is the fact that they were together, even if they were both dead. But it makes me so sad that Aiden had gotten his life together. He just found the love of his life. He was building his dream house. And then some piece of shit just took all of that away from him, and it made me... It's January, like, 13th or 14th as I'm filming this, so it also made me think of all the people in California who built their dream lives and their dream homes, and just in an instant, it's all gone. So, a very emotional time for me, and for the world, really. Oh my god, I didn't know I was gonna cry in this review. Can I be honest with you? I didn't cry while reading the book. I read this book in one sitting. Didn't stop the whole time. Oh my god, and I didn't cry at all. I was sad, but I was like, it just didn't, I wouldn't let it hit me, I guess. It's hitting me now. Love this book. It was almost going to be my first 5-star of the year, but there were some very small things with the writing. Like, when we were 2 or 3 chapters in, I was like, this writing isn't incredible. It wasn't my favorite thing, and there's a chance that it's more of the character, the female main character, who bothered me, and potentially less the author's writing style. I would have to try something else by her to know for sure. So I think it's like a 4.75, but then we got to the plot of the book, and I was like, holy shit. I was just staring at the book as I was reading the ending, just in shock, in complete shock. And if I had only read one more chapter, it was literally the next chapter is when they started talking about the ghosts, I would have figured it out. But I was so scared and so impatient that I was like, my anxiety has been so bad. That's why I'm having a lot of trouble reading. When there's like really big world events going on, my brain has a lot of trouble separating the two, clearly. So I had too much anxiety that I was going to put the book down and not come back to it unless I read the ending first. But I was literally a chapter away from having figured it out myself. I love this book. I love these characters. God, it's so sad. And it's just so unexpected, and I'm kind of so happy that I never saw a single review or a single person who got this book mention that it's anything other than a dark romance. Never once did anyone mention anything close to what this actually was. And for that, I'm so thankful. And I don't know how they did it, because I could never do a review where I don't include spoilers about this book. How does one do that? You literally can't. But I also cannot believe that I knew, just from reading the back of the book, that Dante, aka Aiden, would be dead. I can't believe I knew that just from the back of this book. And then I forgot as I started reading this that I had that thought until I finished it. And then I was like, oh my god, I have that clip of me saying that he's dead. My brain is so weird. Anyway, I can't believe I cried. This is maybe my first book review where I've full on cried. I cry a lot on my main channel where I do K-pop reactions, but man, it's my first time doing it over a book, so I'm glad we got to experience that together, maybe? I don't know. Was it cathartic? I don't know. I think I'm gonna cry more today, and that's just gonna be how today goes. So, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Did you also read this book? Were you also surprised? I also want to say, because I don't read thrillers or books like this with this sort of, like, plot devices and plot twists, I think that's another big reason why I didn't see this coming at all. Whereas if I start reading this genre more, I think it'll become more obvious to me what's going to happen. Because when I read fantasy books, almost from, like, the 5th chapter, I've got everyone put into little slots of who I think is what in the story and what significance they have. And for this, I was like, what the fuck's going on? So, I already said I'm gonna go, so let me actually go. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!